10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, a daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is February 13th, and we're going to get started here with this cast from Anthony Sassano. So here Sassano says, the Rocket Pool Revenge arc is coming soon. Study. And then there's a link to Jasper's Eigenlayer integration article. There's a link to the roadmap article from the team about what's going to be included in Houston and Saturn upgrades. And then there's a link to Waldorf's direct capture research, the one that he won the prize for. And basically what Anthony Sassano here is suggesting is that, you know, Rocket Pool's time is coming, like kind of tapping into this whole idea that there's been a whole lot of FUD recently, and that there's been a whole lot of negativity around Rocket Pool and people kind of fading Rocket Pool, and basically there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that people in the wider Ethereum communities might not know about, and that is going to basically supercharge Rocket Pool into the next phase of its growth. Now, Anthony Sassano, of course, is an ODAO member. He does hold the RPL token as a bond for his ODAO node, and he, yeah, like, you know, he has an interest, right? But the great thing is that, you know, Anthony, he doesn't shill the token, and even though, you know, even here he said that, look, I make no comment about RPL itself. This is about Rocket Pool, the protocol. Sorry if that wasn't clear. So that was a discussion with Dan, and basically, you know, I'm not saying that they're shilling the price or anything like that, but he's a well-aligned actor, and it's nice that, you know, he's promoting Rocket Pool still, even though some people are kind of moving on to supposedly shinier things like Puffer or Eigenlayer or EtherFi or Swell or the latest, you know, restaking LRT token of the week. So far that, you know, he even went on today's Daily Gwei episode and kind of talked about why he thinks the Rocket Pool is going to, you know, be really good in this coming year. And I replied to him by saying, there's so many amazing things that I had for Rocket Pool, the coming period up to Petra and the months following that are going to change the game. So that is kind of what I've been talking to you all about. Like, people who've been watching Rocket Fuel for a while know that I'm extremely bullish for this year that's coming up. And I think that there's going to be a whole lot of really exciting things happening. And Anthony's just kind of scratched the surface here, and there's a whole lot more to dig into. So why don't we go do that? So as you all know, recently we have been asking people to kind of present their vision for what the new tokenomics of Rocket Pool will look like. And, you know, Val kind of did this a little while ago and we talked about that. Well, now we had Samus here who did the same thing. And Samus put together this cohesive proposal.md, which is on his GitHub. And he says that the cohesive proposal from Samus is to combine ideas from 4 categories of submissions. 1 is bond reduction through sublinear bonding. 2 is commission cut diverted to RPL stakers. And then number 3 is the universal variable commission. And number 4 is protect our ETH from underperforming node operators. So these are the 4 things that he wants to kind of put into the Saturn tokenomics. And he says, you know, for the bond reduction, the sublinear bond, he really wants to use Waldorf's aggressive alt bonds method. So it says the first 2 validators are LEB4s, and after that you have the LEB 1.5s. So if you have, yeah, it's really great that, you know, you can spin up so many validators with Rocket Pool. And he says with the commission cut, this is what he's saying here. He says building mostly of direct capture 2 and direct capture proposals from Val with some modifications. He says change the RPL inflation rewards to scale linearly with node operator borrowed ETH. And he says split staked RPL into 2 categories. The node operator staked RPL rewards curve suggested in direct capture 2, so it scales with borrowed ETH, the value of RPL staked, and therefore only accessible to node operators. And he says node operator is used throughout, the NO is used as node operator throughout. And he says all staked RPL method described in the original direct capture, which is weighted per stake token and scales linearly sorry, independent from node operator duties, opening the market to allow pure RPL staking. So this is really interesting as well, that, you know, there might be a path to just having a completely separate RPL stake that's kind of bolted onto Rocket Pool. And it says no, all staked RPL still applies to RPL staked by node operators. And then he goes on to say, transitions start with direct capture 2, over time transition to direct capture, start with staked RPL yield mostly going to node operator staked RPL, and proportionally increase all staked RPL to decrease node operator staked RPL until all of this yield goes to all staked RPL. It says the transition visualization before starts with a pi on the left and then finishes with a pi on the right. So on the left, you have RETH, and the commission from that is going to all staked RPL, node operator staked RPL, and then all node operators. And then in the end, it's going to all node operators and all staked RPL. And then it says for reference, RPL in inflation rewards curve, and then there's like a chart of borrowed ETH, and it says node operator staked RPL rewards curve, and then depends on the borrowed amount, then it kind of changes after 15%. And then these are like, you can click on these images, I think, and see, oh no, you can't see bigger pictures. And then it says reason for the modification, and then it kind of explains, how he's putting his numbers together. And he has a summary as well of saying, like, on day one, there will be a lot of RPL staked by node operators. There'll be a small number of pure RPL stakers, and there'll be a medium-sized number of ETH-only node operators. And then it says, as time goes on, the bubble sizes will change. So it will be two pools, basically RPL staker and a node operator. And basically, if people who are currently staked with RPL, their RPL can go into the RPL staker, or people who have no ETH are all staked can just go into the RPL staker, and then everyone else can just run their validators, that ETH-only validators. And then he kind of explains the universal variable commission, which basically means that depending on what the status of the protocol is, we'll charge more or less commission, depending on what kind of outcome we want for Rocket Pool. And then he gives examples about that as well. And then he says protect RETH from underperforming node operators. So here he kind of explains about how if a validator isn't performing, then there'll be actions taken against them. So definitely, go ahead and read Seamus's information here. It's quite interesting, and I think that we'll be getting a few more of these, like vision, like tokenomics vision posts in the next few days, before the community can kind of like dig into them and see what works, what doesn't work, and try to come up with like a couple of different models that we can kind of go forward with and kind of get to vote on potentially. Okay, so Jasper, of course, runs with this information. He says Rocket Pool version 3. I think he just means version 3 as in like it's the next phase of development, but not necessarily the case that there is going to be a new Rocket Pool that is going to be version 3. There is nothing like that on the plans. If anyone reaches out to you saying that Rocket Pool, you have to migrate to version 3 or anything like that, that is almost definitely a scam at this point. So please just understand that he means it figuratively. There's no literal migration to a version 3. And he says Rocket Pool version 3 will have the greatest tokenomics of any protocol. Stake without RPL for 7.5 commission, which is more than Lido CSM, with LEB4, as the first two, and then 1.5 after that. Or he says, and 6.5% extra goes to node operators who stake RPL. Only nodes and node operators stake RPL, so the effects compound. If half are bondless, then RPL stakers yield will double. So that's really interesting, because basically, we just need a few whales to come online with their ETH only stake, and because they'll be getting way more rewards than just solo staking natively, right? And what happens is that then the rewards that they'll be giving to everyone who stakes RPL will actually be like huge. And one of the things that we really need to remember here, right, is that as the protocol grows, as we get more and more people coming online, hopefully because of these amazing new tokenomic ideas, what will end up happening is that there'll be a big chunk of people, who just want to be ETH stakers, and that's totally fine. But then the RPL stakers there'll be more RPL staked, because it'll be, there won't be any limits necessarily for how it's going to be staked potentially. And then the impact of that as well will be that they'll be getting really, really good rewards, better than there would be, under the current bonding system potentially. If the right amount, the distribution is right, because right now we have 2.5% of the network, and if we can get that up to 20%, and 10%, half of those are people with RPL, then you can see, like Jasper says here, it's double basically. So that was really, really cool to see. And this kind of, like, I think this morning, like there was a big discussion that kind of started in trading. And it went on for a couple of hours. Actually, people talked about it for a few hours straight. And this is the kind of thing that we're going to be needing to do over the next few months. As we get a good plan of what the tokenomics look like, we'll have to really explain them to the community and like other communities as well to get them excited about what Rocket Pool is doing. Because right now, I think a lot of people don't understand what's happening or even the discussions that are taking place. Right now, of course, there's nothing to show, right? Because we haven't decided on what it's going to look like. We just have an idea of the different proposals that might win out. But here, this in trading, the discussion started is basically Jasper talking about how the rewards will be outsized, and other people were kind of asking questions. Like here, Chaos was asking questions, Coup d'etat was asking questions, Bitzoic was asking a question I think we're going to have to get asked a lot. We're going to be asked a lot is like, if we're going to allow a ETH stake to come online without any RPL, won't that mean that the RPL price will go to zero? Well, no, it won't, right? Like it will be, there'll be value accrual mechanisms for RPL that will give you huge boost in ETH rewards, give you RPL rewards. So there'll be a subset of users who will still want RPL because it'll be giving them so much ETH and RPL, and hopefully, more than they're getting now with RPL, which would be fantastic. So then here, people kind of like started sharing ideas. And Lee says, I don't think there's a way to remove RPL from this equation. We're not going to make $500 million of RPL just irrelevant. I think RPL is holding back the growth of Rocket Pool, but I do believe in this team and the community members helping to make Rocket Pool have the best options available to all. And another thing as well, right, in the worst case scenario, one thing to remember is that, you'll only be able to vote on governance proposals by being an RETH holder. I'm sorry, that was mistaken. Being an RPL holder, just like it is now. And what will end up happening is, in the worst case scenario where RPL has no value whatsoever in terms of giving you access to rewards, the fact that it's a governance token will mean it will still have some value. However, if you look at something like Lido, Lido's the LDO token's value comes from Lido's size, right? So if Rocket Pool grows to 22% where we self cap, which will technically be possible under this system here, the path to that will open up in a way that it's just not open right now. Then even as a governance only token, the value of RPL will go up compared to what it is now, just because we will be worth so much more in terms of TVL and what the protocol has available to it. 10 times more basically than it has now, which is truly amazing. So there's a lot of nuance here and a lot of things that we really need to be careful about how we're going to explain it to the wider Rocket Pool community and then other communities as well. But this will happen once we spend a bit more time just getting things like ironed out and how they're going to work. But this discussion went on for quite a while, and there was a lot of talk about how we're going to make everything work and how we're going to get everything put together, and people kind of asking questions and answering questions, and I think that it worked out really nicely. And I think it's going to be a really exciting time for Rocket Pool, and I don't want to get too hypey because I think that happened during Atlas. But there's a lot of interesting stuff happening here, and I think there is a lot to get hyped about. So I say on one hand, shouldn't get hypey, but on the other hand, it's just really hard to not get hypey. L30 here was asking a lot of questions about how the rewards will get outsized and where they're coming from, and then he realized that there was a gap in his thinking about the systems and how it was all going to come together. So I think here he says, so Seamus says the extra yield isn't coming from a fixed commission cut from your own mini pool, it's coming from all the ETH only node operators giving cut of their commission to one big pot, which is then split up by RPL stakers. So of course, this Seamus's system is not the one that we're going to pick. We don't know yet. I'm sure there'll be some of Samus's ideas in there, but it's going to be one of those things where we're going to work together and really develop something really, really cool. So I'll of course keep you all in the loop with that. Okay, next we're going to talk about ETH Denver Liftoff, which is the side event conference that's still taking place in Denver over the ETH Denver conference, and this is Denver Liftoff. And here there's a super cool surprise, which is a speaker who's been announced is Val. So Val is going to be talking about how Rocket Pool, the protocol, can accelerate to maturity. And by maturity, of course, we mean, having hopefully 22% of the stake. So Val's talk here, it says, there's recently been a lot more energy towards getting Rocket Pool to the best version of itself. The community did a tactical brainstorming initiative and is now working on a coherent vision, overall vision. We discussed two critical components, capital efficient bond curves and RPL value capture, alongside a small supporting cast of supporting components that could move Rocket Pool forward significantly. So here Val is talking about a path to 22%. And that is something definitely to get excited about. And the fact that Val is going to be a speaker is going to be really cool. Val will be calling in. He won't be in Denver itself. But I don't know if we're going to see his face or not because he's kind of like anon. But I guess we'll be hearing his voice unless he uses a voice changer. But I've been on calls with him, so I'm sure that won't be a problem. And then here, Ken shared an agenda of Denver liftoff. So this is for Sunday, March 3rd. The registration will open at 8 a.m. and then I will be the person welcoming people to the event. And this is taking place on Sunday. So I'm going to introduce people, and then that's at 8:30, and then we're going to have Langers who are Joe is going to introduce the Smart Node version 2 at 8:35. Then Langers will be explaining the Houston upgrade. Kane is going to explain what megapools are and how that will work on the contract level. Then we have Understanding the GMC Grants and Bounties. That will be by Schifrin. After that, we'll have Fun, Thrills, and Excitement monitoring MEV relay data. That's from Yoakum. Patches will be explaining how the rescue node works. JT Nicole, who is a moderator at ETH Finance and the presenter of Rocket School, will be talking about Rocket School. After that, we'll have Veriferium. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That's going to be a talk delivered by Ramana. After that, we're going to have Pat welcoming people back to the conference after lunch. Jasper then is going to talk about understanding the IMC and what the IMC does. D. McCartney is going to talk about Rocket Sweep. Alon is going to talk about integrating SSV with Rocket Pool. Fornax will be talking about working in Web3 and what it's like to work as a developer for Rocket Pool. Jasper will be talking about Rocket Pool's endgame and how to make ETH the best money in the Ethereum ecosystem. And then we'll have ecosystem integrations that will be coming from Grant. Eigenlayer are going to present a keynote, so they're going to be talking for 40 minutes, and that is going to be Brianna from Eigen Labs. And then finally, next we'll have Mike, who's Wanda, and he's going to be talking about Constellation, and that's the NodeSet system that will be integrating Rocket Pool and NodeSet together, that Joe has been working on with them, and Nick, I think, might be speaking at the same time. And then finally, we're going to get closing remarks from Dave, who's going to wrap up the ceremony at the end of the day. So that's going to be the second day of the event, with the first day being like workshops and things like that. So it's going to be like the coolest thing. So if you haven't got your ticket yet, it's just $5, which is just a nominal amount. The GMC will be funding the majority of the event, which I think is a really cool thing. And you all should definitely get there as soon as possible because it's going to be really, really cool. Okay, next we had a suspicious case in trading, and in support, and I can't really say too much about it because the person deleted all the messages. But basically, what it looks like is that someone came into support, and basically what they did was they started asking about their validator, saying that they're having some issues with it and there's some problems. And here Patches started asking them questions, and Halulu asked them questions as well. But the person wasn't giving satisfactory answers and wasn't really providing good information. So Patches got suspicious instantly. He says, "Where are you running your mini pool?" And he says, "You need to run the smart node. Are you sure you didn't steal someone else's node wallet and now you want us to help you steal their staked funds? It sounds like you're not a node operator at all." So basically the questions that the person was being asked, they weren't giving satisfactory answers, the answers that any node operator would have. And basically they got suspicious really quickly, and any questions of trying to ask what their node is or what their wallets are and stuff, they were not providing the information in the right way. And then they kind of started accusing people like support people of trying to scam them. And sadly, all the messages have been deleted now, so we can't read through the conversation. But please look after your node security. Please go to the docs section of the Rocket Pool website and make sure that you are taking node security seriously, because it is a really big deal. And there's ways of protecting your node that even if you give someone your node keys, there's nothing they can do with your account if you followed the right security measures. Now, you'd have to follow the right security measures to be in that situation, but please just go and read it. I can't really say too much right now, just in case the person is watching, but there's definitely some scammy stuff going on there, and these scammers nowadays are getting really creative in what they're trying to steal from people. So people in trading kind of started talking about it, and Patches was saying that I'm 98% sure that this guy's stealing, but 2% that is really annoying. And then Noshua asked him a question about, he says he came in holding every red flag I can think of, and Noshua asked, he says, I think it's very plausible that they're running a node, their PC crashed, and they decided to buy a new MacBook and forget all about how it worked. But they do remember Rocket Mini Pool base, because obviously that's very important for node operators. And Patches says, okay, 99.9% sure that the person is a scammer, but then they were deleted and gone. So sorry, I can't give you too much more information about that. Okay, next we have this screenshot from Sneaky. As you know, in less than 48 hours now is the next rewards period for Rocket Pool. So the ratio going down means that a whole bunch of people in our community are going to have to add more RPL to their node if they want to get RPL rewards this month. Well, you will have 879 minutes from the last price information given to the smart node before the snapshot is taken. So you'll have a pretty much more than 12, 13, 14 hours, 14 and a bit hours basically to get that information updated on your node. So you'll have all of tomorrow basically to make that work. And or is that today? I always get confused about when the thing is. It might be today. Let's just check when. Give me a second. So what happens then is you'll have the time to get the ratio locked in, and let me run when. And yeah, that's in the day. Yeah, so it starts on February 15th at 12:35 a.m. Eastern time. So you have just over 24, and then like whatever 30 plus hours before that happens. So all day tomorrow pretty much you'll be able to top up your validator if you want to get RPL rewards. But the Sneaky is the one who made this little document that will kind of help you figure out how much time you have to do that. Okay, and finally, we're going to end today's call with this post from node operators saying, hi node operators, we are pleased to announce that we're starting the closed alpha testing for a stakewise integration this week. If you're interested in participating, please give us a hands up on this message. We'll initially reach out to a small cohort of operators to make sure things go smoothly and confirm system stability. If you aren't chosen, please be patient. It won't be long until we move on to open testing for all operators. So this is really exciting development from NodeSet, who are doing something really cool here. Like they're starting with their stakewise integration. So if you are one of their chosen node operators, then definitely get in touch with, react with that emoji, and they'll let you know what you need to do and what's going to happen with that. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. Thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. Please stay safe out there with your node keys, and please go and read the docs about node security and protecting yourself, because there's a lot of bad stuff that can happen, and of course, don't want you to get caught out with any of that. So thanks all, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.